is, and performing the EVP, it may not come in straightforward. It could possibly come in backwards or sideways, which makes for a very difficult EVP to understand. So, then our conversation gravitated toward babies. And
Yeah.
babies coming from the spirit world, and we know that. I think you've seen a show on TV about my child lived before or whatever. Our spirit is nothing more than traveling through the human experience right now. Then when we leave, we're back in spirit. And we live mostly in a spirit form throughout eternity, whatever that be. This is merely a blink of an eye what we're going through right now. Because once we go back to spirit, we can sit there. And I think you were sharing something with me, Debbie, on that. We can go to spirit for how many years?
Um, I believe that we could go to spirit. What do you mean by go to spirit? Do you mean,
When you die.
oh, you mean like what their time is to ours?
Well, yeah, I think first, why don't you say that?
Okay, well, there was a little boy that I did a reading for his parents, and I told him 3 days I was going to visit with his parents, and he kept popping in every 3 seconds. He thought that it was time. And I said, no, it's not time yet. You have to wait 3 days. Well, every 3 seconds, he kept doing this for a whole day, and I finally had to close the door and give him some words that I could bring him back out again, because they have no time constraint there. They don't understand, and 3 seconds is like a whole day or 3 days to them. So that was one way that I got the time difference. Also, there's a time difference, and I've had Spirit actually tell me that they don't know how long it's been since they passed, and it doesn't matter to them. So
it doesn't.
they don't really care.
We'll get into it. A lot of the EVPs I have, and I don't know if I have some of them today. I just picked and choose. But we did ask. We were in Yesterdog, the restaurant. We were asked to go there, and there was a girl in the restaurant being held by a higher spirit. But she was kind. He was not. But we did ask her a couple questions relating to time, including what's your age, and she said, "I don't know. I don't know time." And time pretty much you're right, is irrelevant where they're at.
Yep.
Because there's no beginning or end. And there's a great YouTube video, and I think I'll put it up again. It's Fourth Dimension 101, and how 4D entities view us. They got a lot of work. They got to focus in on, we live in capsules, like a movie screen from left to right, and like a film strip, and we just have these movements, and if you move them fast enough, it's fluid. But they're considered boxes, of people around you, your environment. So what the 4D entity can do is float forward and backwards in time and look at you when you were 10, and it can look at you when you're 90, so be it. Well, if they look at you, you're 90 and you're dead, but they'll just see you dead. But they can move, but it's pretty much irrelevant to them because it's boring. I mean, how do I know that? Because I asked them. When you're moving through time, and I hear words like boring come back. But the thing about it is they have to get pretty right on to get into an entity. And then when they enter the room that you're in or the space and time, they may kind of just shift through and you'll only see part of them. And part of them still is in the fourth dimension. So when they sift through, that's why a lot of times you will see maybe a hand go through or some smoke or mist, because truly they can't fully manifest. It takes a lot of energy to manifest, and Spirit has told me there's got to be a damn good reason you want me to manifest.
I have a man here who he only shows from the waist up. Well, that tells me that he is residual. he doesn't answer any questions or anything. But we did get one EVP from him where I asked what his name was, and he said Jim, and that was it. But you're only seeing him halfway up. You can only see like half of his body. It's like if he's cut off, and it's a very defined line. It's not like it gets hazy or like his legs get more shadowed or anything like that. He's in half. And I got the impression from him that he was residual and had walked through this land before any buildings or anything was here. So I think that's another thing too, is if they're residual, or if they're just passing through, or if they were tied to the land, or whether they're tied to the place. It depends on how much you're going to see them or how much they show you.
Now, the top half that you saw, how was he dressed?
He had a sort of brownish, well, he sent me the brown, I could tell it was brown, vest on, and he had a cowboy hat on. And I have a child who comes here who's 5, and he said that there was a cowman here. So it's interesting how he picked up on that. We had never talked about it in front of him, so he knew about the cowman.
So he potentially was a cowboy?
I believe so. He was
okay.
Some sort of cowboy at one point.
Yeah, I noticed there's another thing, too, that spirits have a tendency to revolve around, or the ones that we talk to or hear from are roughly 99% of them are like 100 years away.
Yeah.
But, you get a few in there that were 25 years away or 50, what have you. And in many cases, someone who recently dies gets that week of time where they can go visit family members. And that must be a natural law because, I was talking to someone not too long ago, and their son died, and he appeared for the first week to her, and then never seen her again. But it seems to be right around the 100-year mark because to them, and you were talking about 3 seconds, it's amazing how a lot of this stuff can also be, it correlates with Scripture. A day is 1,000 years, like 1,000 years is a day. And now a lot of that makes sense, Yeah, I mean, what the heck was Christ talking about? And that's what you said, 3 seconds to this guy? Yeah. To him, it appeared like 3 seconds, which I can honestly tell you in 2013 when I had respiratory disease that I caught in the operating room, went into 3 months coma, and died twice on July 4th. And if you're going to die on a holiday. So they name it after you down the road. But anyway, yeah, I did, and I traveled.
My husband can vouch for that since he died on Thanksgiving.
He died on what day?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, so you have a name for it now?
Well, the problem with Thanksgiving is that it moves around. He died on the 26th, which that year was Thanksgiving Day, but it moves around every year. So we always sort of give a memorial to him on Thanksgiving, no matter what day it falls on, because we all think of it as the 26th, so.
Well, July 4th doesn't move around, and on the day I passed twice and flatlined, and they were thinking I'm pulling the plug on me. Where I went, there was no time. You just knew. And most of the things that were there, like the colors and the feelings, are indescribable in our third dimension. I cannot describe it. The only thing I could say is I want to be there and not here. So when they brought me back, I was slugging doctors and nurses. I just hitting them in the face, whatever I could. I was so mad that I had come back, because coming back, I started feeling the weight again and the pressure of all of the things this earth does to us. And problems and this and my disease and all that just kind of came in. So I think where they reside, there's two different sets of physics, and it's and that's when we question. We don't question like, okay, what year were you born? When is it now? We don't really care. We try to figure out their environment.
True. We have tried to. We did have an investigation with a man who was from the 1940s. He said 1940. So we tried to tie it in with information to the house at that time or to the area. Unfortunately, we couldn't find anything that tied in what we got with the investigation, but he did cross over, so it ended up all good. But yeah, he did know 1940, but I don't know if that is when he died or if that is when he was born or if that was a certain time he thought he was still in, because I'm not so sure that there aren't other dimensions that are set in different times. So he could be set in that time now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we go to other dimensions beyond the fourth. I think maybe as we learn more. My personal opinion, through talking to a lot of mediums, and you know as well as I do, I have a hard time getting along with them. I told you that straight up front when we met.
And I knew why.
But
because he's not a wonderful, nice guy, because he was.
Shut up. It has nothing to do, but I'm very direct, and because I'm on a cause here, and I found you, and you just have the same amount of passion, which is great. But I think that well, I'm not sure what I was going to say, but I'm going to play right now the first EVP I ever caught, which is a class AAA times 3 at the lighthouse up at Whitefish Bay. It came to be that this was one of the sailors on the Edmund Fitzgerald, who now is on shore, and they brought a lot of the relics back to the museum right there, and he attached potentially to either the bell or some of the relics of it. So here it is. I'm in the top room of the captain's house, and I ask a question.
Do you have a name?
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll play it again.
Do you have a name?
Now, I didn't hear that until I went back downstairs, sat on a park bench, and then played it and said, man, why did I leave there? I should have asked more questions. That was clear as a bell. And this one he had the whisper, but he also had more voice inflection. Did you hear the beginning of the word say day?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lynn. It was Dalen.
Yeah.
Dalen.
That's unusual. That's an unusual name, isn't it?
It is. We found out he was on the ship because I went into the curator in the shop and I said, would you listen to this? She goes, oh my God, where'd you get that? And I said, right up in that second floor. And I guess what people need to know is that spirit is just all around us at all times. And I think they're only separated by time, but they're here. The thin veil of time between us, the third and fourth dimension, they say it's separated by millimeters, but it's invisible to us. So however you perceive that to be.
Well, that's like the Mackinac Island story I told you.
Yeah. Well, why don't you share it again?
Okay. My